Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Today I'm coming to you from my balcony. Decided to shoot a video indoors today. I didn't feel like going outside to record videos and stuff like that. But I wanted to talk about like this topic that I've been seeing like raging on Twitter about how boys are being left behind and all of this stuff. And like usually I don't like engage in like this like gender wars, like what people like to refer to as gender wars, or like these discussions, because they mostly don't come from like a place of like genuine conversation, particularly if it's about like dating and relationships, men this, women this. And I think that for this particular one, it's probably important for me to like talk about it, because this is something which is like quite close to me, and I think that the perspective in which a lot of people are talking about this is very shallow, and it's mostly for like winning cheap shots and like taking cheap shots at people, talking about here like red pill stuff, all of this stuff. And it's like pretty I think it's pretty like it's pretty shallow the way that people are thinking about it. And for me, like more and more I'm starting to think about things like in a longer term point of view. And for this particular issue, I've been thinking about it for a while now, particularly after like a lot of people close to me they started having kids and all of this stuff. And we have like discussions about like how I think that they should start like considering taking up more active roles in the community, raising up the kids, educating the kids, participating in extracurricular activities that involve kids, so that they are like active in raising the kids that are in the community, not necessarily their own kids, but other kids that are in this community as well. Because in as much as we like would love to like take this view of like how of like kids being raised in an almost a vacuum, uh, but they're not, like you could like be having your own like baby girl who's like who's your daughter, and you're raising it really well, and raising it to like take his school seriously and like focus well, and to just be a good citizen. But if most people are not like doing that, and like most people are not taking an active role in the raising of the children that we have in our society, that's also going to be a problem for you, because one day you're going to be looking for someone who's going to marry your daughter or like date your daughter. Or and because a lot of people, they now think of it in a bit of like a crude way, but this is how you end up in a situation where these older men are taking advantage of like these younger kids, because the boys from her own like age group or like her own generation are not really doing all that well, and they don't have a good trajectory. That's how that starts. Because and I've seen it a lot of times in my own lifetime, and sometimes maybe just that's just the cycle of things. But then I feel that the longer that it continues, we're gonna have a crop of less desirable young men for marriage for young women, and that's not a good situation for us to be in. But a lot of people want to look at this from a point of like, you guys, is this the men's fault because they're not educating and teaching the boys? It's the men's fault because of this and that. And then the men are coming in and be like, hey, it's the women's fault for this, the women's fault for that. But at the end of the day, regardless of whose fault this thing is, we're all going to be sharing the same problem. The kids that are going to be These are the same kids that are going to be like being the surgeons in our hospitals, operating on us when we're dying. They're the same kids that are going to be robbing us at stores. They're the same kids that are going to be marrying our children, so the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, yo, this is probably a very good point for us uh, to start having like a proper discussion. And for me, the way that I envision myself playing a part in making the society better, like improving people's lives like that, and just like playing my part so that if I have a daughter or if I have daughters, they probably have a good crop of suitors for themselves. Is participating in the community, like coaching football teams, like for like young people, coordinating events and like stuff like that. Because when I was a kid, we also used to have like a Mahrut man who would, for example, my brother, he used to coach the church's football team. Sometimes we go to church, we like have these events like camping and stuff like that, and it would be so cool to have like these older brothers that you like looked up to, and all of that stuff. I'm not a perfect guy. And I don't think like I'm like a great role model, but at the same time I'm not horrible. And there's a lot of things that I feel like I can tell the kids, or like try to like teach the kids or influence the kids in some shape or form that would prevent them from making howlers in the future, or like making a lot of mistakes. And there's a lot of guys too who know more things than me, who know different things than me, who have different struggles, who have made different types of mistakes, and they can also impact the young boys' lives in that way. So that's why I kind of feel like a little bit of a duty to like go back home and like be closer to my community, and regardless of the country, as long as I'm helping to improve the lives of young black boys, I feel like that it's part of my duty now, the older that I grow, because I have hair on my face now, and the kids, they call me Hrutman, and some people ask me for career advice. So naturally, I feel like I have a role to play. So I think that the more we talk about this, we shouldn't think about it about whose fault and all of that stuff. We should talk about solutions to say, okay, this is what we're seeing in the ground. What are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What part are you going to play in it, in fixing it? And but then unfortunately that doesn't get a lot of clicks. It's not clickbaity enough. It's not hot enough for take to get engagement from people. But then that's what we should be talking about. That's the perspective that we should be thinking about these things at. That these kids are gonna grow up, and whatever they are gonna become, it's gonna be our fault. Or if they grow up and become successful, it's gonna be our fault. But I do really deeply feel that it's severely important for us to make and to set standards for things that are cool, to be also the things that are constructive. Because at the present moment, I feel like our values do not reflect the our values are perfectly, in fact, like reflected in the people that we make famous. They're perfectly reflected in the things that we make to like blow up on the interwebs. Perfectly related with all of these entrepreneurs who come up and they steal money, and they mistreat women, and they like all of these crazy characters that we allow to be famous. And then we want to tell kids about like this one thing, or like this one way of thinking and looking at life. But then the way that we act, and is shown in our values, the music that we listen to, the movies that we watch, all of the stuff, the things that we as society perpetuate to be mainstream, all of that stuff is against the things that we say that we believe in. So like boys falling behind, it's a big problem for everyone. But then that's not the tweet that makes you famous. That's not the take that gets a lot of retweets. So just let me know what you think about this. It's something that's been on my mind for a while. Anyways, I'm gonna sign out. I hope the sound wasn't terrible.